Hello everyone, my name is the TS Gamer, and today we're going through the Unity Raycast system. If you have any problems, just comment down below or join our Discord. I will try to explain it and show it as visually as I can. Bear with me, and let's get started. So first, what does a raycast do? A raycast is basically a ray which gets sent from point A to point B. In case the ray hits something, we can get the information from the object we hit and act upon that. So in the scene, what we have here is our male character and our target, which is the chest, which is under terrain and chest. You can use whatever game objects you want. You can also use basically cubes just for this video, and later on you can expand it to your needs. So back on our male character, we have this casting script. We have a raycast length, so when we decrease the length, we are out of range of the chest, so that means that our target is basically null. But if our raycast length gets larger, we do hit the chest with our raycast and we do cache it in our script. That way we can access it or not. If I move the character, it also works. Also, when I turn the character, it should work seamlessly. So to start, let's right click on the scene, create C# script, and then call it casting. The name is up to you. You can name it as whatever you want. Now here in the script, we would like to remove first the start and update function and also the imports. Let's fix them quickly. And now let's think about the raycast, what we need and what we will do. So first off, we need some raycast settings. So for that, let's set up a header. And what will be under it will be two variables. One's the raycast length, which will be a float with a default value of 3, which is fine for now, but we will change it afterwards. And also the layer we will use to detect our targets. It's both variables are very optional, but we will use it since we go through all the options of raycast. But yeah, keep in mind they're optional. You do not need to use them 100%, but I do recommend to use at least the raycast length. And yeah, let's keep going. So now we do need a raycast point from where we want to shoot the raycast from, because if you do it as in the preview, you will see that the raycast is always going from the feet of the character, which is not always the case you want to have. So let's here declare a small header with the raycast point, and the raycast point itself will be a transform. Other than that, we just also need to declare the target. So whenever our raycast really hits something, we want to cache it. So let's do that quickly too. Here we go. And yeah, so these are the variables we need for now. And yeah, so the raycast point will be, or will get assigned in the inspector. But in case we miss it, we can assign our game object, which carries the casting script itself, as the raycast point. So in case we forget it, or in case we don't want it, we don't want any different point, we can automatically set the game object itself as the raycast point. So for that, we just in the start function, we will set the raycast point to whether the raycast point is assigned or not in the inspector. So if raycast point is null at the start, so if that's the case, we set this game object transform to the raycast point. Other than that, we set the raycast point itself to the raycast point because we signed anything. And now we do have to go to the raycast function itself. Let's start with that. So to declare it, we declare a function raycast. And what we will do here is we declare a variable which will be called raycast hit. In that variable, we will store all the information, or well, all the information from the physics raycast function will get stored in the hit variable right over here. So whenever we hit something, we need to get it out of the hit variable right over here. So to start, we need to start with an if statement. So if we hit something with the physics raycast, so we say if physics raycast. So that's a function. We have loads of parameters. We will fill most of them. So first parameter is origin, so from where we start the raycast, and that will be the raycast point position. So our raycast starts at the raycast point position, and where should it go? So it should go forward, right? Yeah. So for that we just need to say raycast point forward. Simple as that. Now we need to give the raycast a variable in which the data should get stored. So for that we use our hit variable. I don't mind about the out hit, since that means that we put the variable inside the function and the result will get stored in the hit function and we can use it out of the box. And now the next two options are also the optional ones, once the raycast length and once the layer. As I mentioned, they're optional, you do not need to use them, but I do recommend to use at least the raycast length parameter. So now, if our physics raycast hits something, we will store it in our target variable declared right over here at the top. So let's do that quickly. So if that's the case, we want to store the hit.transform game object in the target. What happens if there's nothing? So we need to do a kind of a if-else statement. So if there's nothing, we do store null in the target. So we do always know, hey, did we hit something? Then we store it in the target. And if in case we do not hit nothing, we store it in the we store the null in the target. So that's how we know that something is in front of us or not. So to run the function, I need to write it out now, private void update. So we need to run the raycast function in the update loop. And also we didn't declare yet any visual behavior here. Since the raycast is invisible, to make it visible, we need to declare the gizmo function from Unity itself. So for that, let's write right over here also a small header and call it maybe gizmo setup, and declare here a small variable, let's say public bool use gizmo. And we will set it to false at the start. So that basically means we can toggle this variable in the inspector. So if it's true, then we see the gizmo. If it's false, we do not see anything. And we give it the initial value of false, since if the raycast point will not be signed, we'll get a null reference exception in the editor, which is not what we want. So we do declare it as false at the start, then we fill the raycast point, and then we show it. And in case we do not fill it, then we do get another reference exception. But yeah, depends on the situation, you can omit that. So now we do still need to say on draw gizmo. And here we just check if use gizmos is equal to false. Then we return, then we go out of the function. And if not, we need to declare first a variable which will be called forward. So that will be the direction in which our raycast should go with its length. So we need to say raycast point dot forward, if I'm not mistaken, and raycast length times raycast length. So that's how we get our direction where the gizmo should go and its length. And now we need to draw it basically. So we say gizmos.drawArray, and then we say raycast point.position. So here the raycast starts, and that's where we want our array also to start, and also towards the position or towards direction forward. So that's how it should work. You can also always wrap it up in a if Unity editor statement. So that way we just use the function if we're in the Unity editor, then fix the imports, fix the format the code, and there we go. That's how we have done our code. Back to the editor, because we're finished here, and let's try this whole thing out. So now in the editor, what we need to do is we need to select our male character, or in your case, maybe the cube cylinder, doesn't really matter what you want. And we just drag and drop the casting script on top of our character. And if you can see, if we go into console and we say use gizmo, we get this ugly null reference exception. That's because of we need to assign really anything as a raycast point. So in that case, I use the male character, but you can do make a null pointer object right in the middle, drag it up, down, really doesn't matter. You can do it as you really like. So now if we use gizmo, it doesn't really show up any error, but it show up our gizmo right over here. And we also can give it a custom length. So that really represents our gizmo which we're using. And also under layer, we use nothing but everything maybe in this case, since our since we do filter now for layer. But if you do not want to do that, you just basically need to remove. Let me quickly go right over here and to remove the layer. Okay, so that way you do not filter for any yeah, how's it called, the layer, which is super important in case you do not want to do that, because in certain cases you do like to filter, but not in all cases. So whenever we start, we do not see any target right over here, so we need to go on this three dots right over to the right, click debug, and we see here the target. So if we start the whole thing, we don't get anything right now as a target because our raycast length is too small. So if we size it up, we get our chest. If we size it down, we get nothing. That simple. In case our layer will be set to nothing, we get nothing back. I don't know if we can change our layer to nothing. No, we cannot. But we can set anything as we want. If you set it to default, I guess then the default layer is default, so you do get the default chest, but you do not need to filter always. And yeah, I hope you liked that quick tutorial. If you did, join our Discord. Let me know about some tips you have for me, or just join our great community. We're every day there, and I hope you like and subscribe as well. Let me know also in the comments down below if you liked that video, and I see you the next time.